To start off episode 4, we leave off with Duran asking Jazz for a kiss. And of course, Jazz nicely turns him down. It's a no, sir. And then Duran seems like a really nice guy that's actually into Jazz. But unfortunately for him, Jazz is really in his own head and curves Duran to the friend zone, unfortunately. Jazz is looking for a spark on a different level. And unfortunately, Duran just didn't do it for him. And now, Jazz and Sander are back home. They fill Jeanette and Greg in on the date. And then in the next scene, we see Jazz invite some friends over by the pool. They start talking about Botox and moving to LA. And my question is, why are teenagers that are in their prime getting surgery? Like, you are literally in your prime. Like, you should look your best. You should be youthful. The collagen, everything should be on point. Why are you guys talking about surgery, Botox, and fillers and aging yourselves like 10 years before you even get to that age? Y'all gonna look a hot mess by 40, but this is just my honest opinion. Once again, don't come for me. I just want you guys to know that insecurities are real, y'all. Like Tyler's face, who's Jazz's friend, the blonde one, Tyler's face can barely move at this point, but for some reason he's still talking about Botox and fillers. Like, it's a no for me. And then they talk about Jazz's new love connection named Yash, and he basically FaceTimes Yash and he asks Jazz on a date. Jeanette talks to her friend named Chris in the next clip, and they talk about Jazz's date and Jazz possibly being pansexual. Something is definitely wrong with Chris because she suggests Jazz sluttens it up on dates. Like, what, ma'am? And of course, Jazz walks in and the conversation, as always, becomes overly sexualized and gross. Like, does this show have any, diversity? Does it have any, anything other than sex? Like, gross. Jazz tells them that he's not asexual, but he's very fluid in his sexuality, aka I accept what accepts me. It is what it is. But what I got out of this conversation is that life shouldn't be this complicated. Let me say that again. Life should not be this complicated. It's either you are attracted to the person or you're not attracted to the person. Jazz is one complicated and confused individual. No shade. Like, I'm a complicated and sometimes, I have double thoughts, but a double-minded person is a dangerous thing. Like, yeah, that's constantly been told to me. And you want to veer off from that, but Jazz is constantly having a double-minded spirit, and he's quite complicated, but I don't understand why. But why though? But Jeanette and Greg will have to answer that question sometime in the future, and I know it's coming for Jazz. Jazz is gonna eventually sit them down one day and ask them, like, why did you let me do this to myself? Like, that's gonna be an honest question for them one day, and I hope that they truly give Jazz the answer that he wants. And then Jazz tells them about the other date, Yash, and then we move on to the next clip where we have Jazz, Tyler, and Jacqueline taking modeling pictures with a trans model named Lauren. And then they talk about moving to LA again, and Jazz is jealous of how free Tyler and Jacqueline are. How I don't understand why these people are constantly jealous of each other. Jealous for what? Like, I don't see anything to be jealous of. And then we move on to the next clip. The family is at the rally for trans youth. There's a meeting for gender affirming care in the state of Florida, and Jeanette was invited to speak at the rally. And of course, Jeanette gives the crowd the sob story of Jazz being trans since childhood and wanting to off himself like they always say. Jazz looked like he wanted to be anywhere else but at that rally. But in the confessional, he was proud of Jeanette being an advocate, of course. Like, bye. By the way, the state of Florida did reject the bill for gender affirming care for minors, and that is great news. Next, we have Jazz preparing for his date without a chaperone this time. Praise God. Sander is not gonna be at this date, praise God. I'm sorry, for some odd reason, Jazz does not look happy about going on this date. When he gets to his destination, all of a sudden he's sick, and I'm trying to figure out why.